I managed to have a follow-up doctor's appointment to see how well I was healing. This would also determine if I could start living my life again, being able to drive, being able to lift up heavier objects, not having to worry about going up and down stairs or any sort of major rips happening. I can definitely say, since I've had this surgery, the doctor's appointments I have gone to have gotten very interesting. Let's just say if you have any form of modesty, it's going to be quickly thrown to the wayside. But then again, I can't say I necessarily had modesty before, but at the same time, I wasn't expecting probing, but it would make sense to make sure that everything's holding together all right and make sure that the two-door system are not connecting. Probably the hardest part of that appointment, though, is even though I've got a good, clean bill of health, there was some inflammation. At first, I was kind of relieved to hear this, as I kind of thought I wasn't dilating properly, but then they said a solution they were going to try was a few injections. Yeah. There was three of them, and it was very hard to tell if they did anything for a while, as rightfully so, the area kind of swelled up a little bit, and not in the fun way. But as it's been a little more time since those shots, I think things are going better. It's hard to tell though, but I think they're going better. And the other big thing about that appointment that put me kind of at ease was hearing that there didn't have to be a set time between dilation sessions. So I was told I had to wait 3 hours between. Did I honestly do that thing cartoon characters do? Take like Shrek, where it's just like, three, pick number three, my lord. Four. 1, 2, 3, 4 hours between dilating sessions. And I was very nervous about that, as I was doing some math and I wasn't really sure if I was going to be able to have that in my schedule. But to hear it was a bit more flexible works out. The only problem is I've had to adjust quite a few things in order to be able to fit in 3 dilations a day. It's left me very tired. But at the same time, it's strange that I've been getting a lot more dreams as of late. It's about 50-50. I've heard some people say that if you're having really intense dreams, that means you're not getting a very sound sleep. And then there are others that say if you don't have any dreams, you're not getting a sound sleep, but that's more a thing for a sleep study. But it's definitely been an adjustment now that I can start living my life again. So, just so you know, odds are uploads to this channel are going to be a little more inconsistent for a while until I can get this timetable under control. Just seems like I'm now fitting into the long-standing stereotype that trans women have very bad sleep schedules. The problem is, it's not so much the sleep schedule is bad as, well, A, there's less of it, and B, I'm not sure how common it is, but there's a few times where I'm just too tired to sleep. Like, as soon as my head hits that pillow, I'm just all of a sudden wide awake. And I'm just like, why are you doing this to me? Or even worse than that is, there are some days where it's like a really long day. I want to try to start relaxing because I'm going to go to bed in a few hours, and somehow that's like the most energy I've had for the day. I'm not really sure if this is trans related or not, but I don't know, maybe there's something you can get out of this. I get the feeling that in a lot of these other update videos, I'm always talking about other trans people on YouTube. And I can't remember if I ever posed this one or not, but I remember one was asking the question, what was your first experience with seeing a trans person in real life? I figured that'd be a fun topic of discussion, and well, if I discussed that in one of the previous videos, I apologize in advance. But, well, if you're only just watching the series now, that's not really going to matter. So let's think. Probably the first one I can think of was back in junior high school, actually. At least, I think. I really don't. I mean, it seems like she was trans. All I know is, like, when we started junior high school, they were very male presenting. Disappeared for like 12, 18 months or whatnot, and then came back as a female student. It was a combination of confusion as well as jealousy in meeting them. Confusion because I wasn't really sure if they were trans or if they were just presenting female. And obviously, like I said, jealousy. I wanted what she had, the ability to present female, and well, even to this day, I'm still rather jealous of her chest size. Kind of petite, but I don't know. Maybe now that there is no competing hormones in my system, perhaps I'll fill up a little more. I hope. But then again, when it comes to this sort of thing, I just always saw it as like a window of opportunity. Like, if you're not getting that much growth between like a 3 or 4 year window, after that it just kind of stops. But then some people say that growth keeps happening for up to 10 years. Which, I mean, from personal experience, I can sort of agree with that, as it was just a rather fascinating thing that it was the year that I was really questioning if I was trans or not, that I all of a sudden started getting body hair. And I think that was almost my body's way of saying, yeah, we're just going to make you a man until you decide it. And then I'm just like, what? No, why are you doing this? So that's another on the long pile of things that should have been pretty obvious. But you know what they say, hindsight is 20/20, except for the actual year 2020. Insert that clip of everybody going, oh! After that, the last time I met a trans person was, well, that was probably about a year and a half in. Maybe just a year in now that I'm thinking about it. So, it's rather bittersweet recalling these memories, as the friend that introduced me to these, at the time, lovely people, as well as these people, we had a very bad falling out. And let's just say that's the reason I do not like to talk politics on this channel. I've trusted people with my views a few times in the past, and they used it against me. I'm not welcoming that opportunity anytime soon. But then again, there is this one friend that's helping me to work through it, convincing me I'm not a monster for having something that's a little outside. I feel like I'm adding more fuel to the fire. Stop this, Julia. But anyway, that was one of my big things as well, was, once again, jealous of the cup size. And I remember kind of talking to them about this, and it's really fun, really, when you're either a trans woman or just a woman. Talking about boobs isn't really that shocking of a thing, but you do it with guys, it's just kind of like, we got some, You do it with other girls, it's just like, yeah, they're there. Where was I going with it? Oh, yeah, yeah. Like I said, I haven't really been doing too well with the sleep schedule, so you can expect that there'd be a few loose ends. I do remember asking for her on some advice, and she says that if you take the progesterone through the back door, it goes into the bloodstream quicker and is able to give you more volume, but, well, considering the spirolactone kind of plugged me up for a while, that wasn't a good idea. On top of that, I remember even asking my endocrinologist about this. I'm just kind of like, is this a wives' tale or is this a real thing? And they're just like, it's shown to have a little bit of more success, but we're talking about like a millimeter difference, something even smaller than that. So, yeah, bit of a bittersweet memory is, well, even on top of that, the friend that first introduced me to who I thought were very lovely people was the first person to ever call me beautiful. It was probably the first time I ever felt like crying because I was maybe like 3 or 4 months on HRT at that point, and I'm just like, I'm not a woman yet. I still look like a big ugly man. But yet, despite all that, they were able to see a beautiful woman. But I digress. It's a bit of a rather fun thing, really, in transitioning. There's always a few questionnaires here and there, and one of them at the bottom always says, can we contact you for future research opportunities? I always say yes, because, well, I'll be pretty honest, kind of a vain person. I like talking about myself. Wasn't really allowed to do that for a good chunk of my life, so now that I've can in a few areas, I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And if my ramblings can somehow benefit other people, even better. And that's, well, that's kind of a double whammy as to why I like doing these update videos. But anyway, the survey itself was about my involvement with local trans support groups. As I mentioned time and time again, I've not had very good luck with trans support groups. I feel like I really slurred my words there. I hope you get what I mean. My first experience with any sort of local trans support group was a Pride festival that happened a few years ago, sometime during the month of June, obviously. And I was not very impressed by it. And if you saw that video, you'll know why. But just to kind of summarize, the two main issues I had with it is it seemed like it was very much geared for people that were under the age of 25, which I was like 26 at the time. No, I was definitely over 25 at that point. I must have been on HRT for a year, and I was 25 when I first started HRT. So, under the age group that I was personally a part of. And the other big thing was the main drive for this Pride event was a big drag show that was going on. I'm personally a bigger fan of drag racing. The idea of getting on a rail and then... But that's something completely different. For those that are into drag, all the power to you. It's just not something that I want people to think that I am. I'm not a drag queen. I'm a girl named Julia. This is not a character. This is who I am. And, well, I think one of the issues is I find drag is very much kind of a caricature, almost an exaggeration of the female form. The idea of like gigantic wigs, giant poofy lips, 10-inch or however much that is in centimeters, very tall heels, very tight dresses, stuff like that. And on top of that, it kind of really the main reason I bring that up is it feels like it's almost kind of mocking something I really like. I like big hair. I'm perfectly fine with my lips. I don't really get the whole, like, poofy aspect. And heels, occasionally, but I think I'm too tall as it is, so I don't want to add more height to that. But anyway, like I said, this survey was talking about the involvement, and one of them was kind of saying, what kind of events would you like to see a local trans support group put on? The biggest things I remember was it was talking about the idea of a poetry reading. I'm not really a big fan of poetry myself. Outside of like a few good Dr. Seuss or maybe Robert Frost. Who's the other one? Thoreau? Oh, I know it's something Thoreau. The main poem I remember about him is there was a line in it saying, "What is the real cost of bananas?" Because at the time, being a banana farmer was one of the deadliest trades you could go for. So there was poetry reading. Not really something I'm into. But one of the other interesting things was the idea of some sort of spiritual gathering. This was a bit of a shocker. Not only is, well, I'm trying to figure out how to say this that doesn't sound insensitive. From the trans people I have met, it seems like you pretty much have to be atheist. I'm a very spiritual person myself, so that's one of the Nope. Better not go any further than that. But it just seemed like there was an impression that, like, you couldn't have any sort of spiritual beliefs. So the idea that I could go to another group of trans people and they could have some sort of spiritual service. That sounds interesting. I guess the only question is what kind of spirit is. There is kind of this stereotype that trans women worship the devil, but then again, anything that's considered out of the norm has always been literally demonized, so maybe there's no thing in that, but well, I just hope that if there was some sort of spiritual gathering, it wasn't to worship some sort of evil force. But that was a bit of a fun thing. It kind of challenged a perception, and I always like being able to do that. In fact, another fun thing is I heard there's a podcast out there. I think it's called Kill James Bond, which is just a group of trans women talking about the James Bond movies. I only just heard about it a few minutes before recording this, and I gotta check this out because, dang it, it's nice to be able to meet somebody that loves good action movies. After all, it seems like I talk about action movies with other trans people. It's just like, oh, you're a misogynist for liking these. Okay, I get it. James Bond is a relic of the Cold War, a sexist, misogynist dinosaur. Okay, let's move past that. The main things I like, the larger-than-life villains, the action scenes. You got like car chases, you got big showdowns, you got all the fun weaponry involved with such things. And one of the other elements I personally like out of the James Bond movies is a little bit of cheese. I like to have a little bit of levity. I need to be in the right mood to enjoy a very serious Bond film. But then again, I did a tier list of this already. If you saw it, you probably have a good idea of what I look for in a Bond film. But regardless, it's nice. It gives me hope that perhaps there is a support group or even just another person I can talk to about the hobbies that I have. Then again, I do like a few anime out there, and well, it seems like finding a trans woman that likes anime is like finding a trans woman either named Luna or loves cats. Or they're a big fan of Sailor Moon and they love Luna the cat. You see, it's like poetry. You see that rhyme. Personally, though, one of the things I would love to do is if we could have some sort of game night. Say, rent out a library for the evening, have like a whole bunch of trans, bi, asexuals, whatever. Basically, anybody in the Rainbow Alliance. Just get together, play some board games. Either that or if I were to meet like a group of trans people that love classic literature. If there is a trans book club out there, I'm all for it. Well, I mean, I've made it no secret what my favorite book is, and that's rather controversial within these circles. But I think the other interesting thing I'm thinking of is the idea of like, well, I'd say the more the merrier. I mean, you could have like an event that's exclusively curtailed to people of the Rainbow Alliance, but allow cis people to come as well. After all, if we want cis people to be comfortable with us around, I think we gotta be comfortable with them being around. Is this a radical thing to think? I'll end on this one. It's another fun manga that I found out. It's called Magical. I think it's Magically Trans, I believe is the name of it. And you can tell from the title why I found it rather interesting. So, our main character, as well as his best friend, are looking to join a high school club. Something to do after school and after the homework is done. Well, our main character stumbles upon a magical girl club. And the first thing coming to his mind, it's just like, oh, this would be nice. Perhaps I might find some great cosplays and whatnot. This would be great. Well, to his surprise, it turns out that not only is it a magical girl appreciation club, but they also become the magical girls. At first, he was not necessarily into it, but takes a little bit of convincing and starts to kind of like it. And from there, I kind of realized that this character is honestly living my dream life in high school. At his age, I would have loved to be a girl, in fact. I even tried to pick up lucid dreaming, so if I couldn't be a girl in the real world, at least I could be it in the dream world. But then again, I'm reminded of a quote by... I wrote this down, let me make sure I say it right. I want to say T.H. Lawrence, but I forget if that's the famous Lawrence of Arabia or if it's the author. Give me just a moment. Okay, it's D.H. Lawrence, not T.H. Lawrence. Yes, so he was like a famous author. He had a good quote. All people dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their mind wake in the morning to find that it was vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous people, for they dream their dreams with open eyes and make them come true. I feel like that very much applies to me. But I think the two biggest highlights of this, well, actually there's quite a few highlights of this manga. The first thing I like is it has a very fun, happy, go lucky tone for it. I just kind of had like that heartwarming feeling the whole time and just a little bit of a fun grin on my face as I'm reading it. So I find it interesting that I just cite how lighthearted and fun it is, but yet my favorite chapter involves so essentially how they become magical girls is through a magical app that transforms them. Well, the best friend sees that our main character just loves being a girl and keeps sending like pictures as well as just being absolutely happy to be a woman. She kind of sees this as a bad thing and asks the club president to disable the app for a little while. And rightfully so, our main character is quite ticked because he's absolutely loving this, and once again, this guy's just living my dream. He was able to realize what it was like to fall asleep and then wake up as a girl at that time. And you could really see how depressed he is getting. And on top of that, there is a small line here that I absolutely love. He's saying that the main reason he likes being transformed is he just feels better. It's not to sneak off into the girls' room or to see what the changing room is like. It's because it makes him happy. The good things in life just feel even better, like eating, sleeping, even studying. Just simple things, just with that little switch, has just done him a life of good. And you can just see the withdrawal as it lasts for a few days. And by the end of it, he's just like, why me? And the other big moment I like about that chapter is once he is able to change back into the magical girl form, the best friend remarks, wow, you certainly seem like you're the same person. To which he replies, yeah, I'm still me, I just look a little different. And that's a message I wish was a bit more common. That was kind of the big thing when I started transitioning, is I'm just kind of like, I'm still me. I still love my James Bond. I still like my anime. I still like my retro video games. I love my retro technology. Personality-wise, I'm mostly the same person. I'm not going to lie and say I'm completely unchanged, but in essence, I'm still the same person. I just have a new coat of paint. And that's a message I wish would kind of go a little further when it comes to being trans. There are so many people that see it as like giving yourself to the core, surrendering to the hive mind, being indoctrinated. It's the idea of this trans agenda. I never went to school for this. And even if I did, I was out that day. They never gave me the agenda, so what is it? I'm just me, but happier. And a little less ashamed about sex. But I don't want to get this video age restricted, so I'll leave it at that. I'm trying to think if there are any other major highlights of that manga. Well, really just the major highlight is just seeing this main character just love being herself. Once again, living out the dream. And it's also pretty relatable. There's this one scene where she's going to the mall with her best friend. And it's all to get some clothes because aside from the magical girl outfit, she's got nothing. And she's just loving it. She's in a dress. She's got everything she needs. And it's just kind of like, what else do girls do? I'm loving this. I want to be more of a part of this. And dang it, that's still something I very much relate to. And if I had that opportunity, I know I probably would have just went through all that in high school, just like this character. There's jealousy, but at the same time, well, I don't have to worry about an app going down or anything like that. I'm me. Although, yeah, I think like a lot of other trans women, I wish I was a cute anime girl as well. There's a lot of people out there that are just like, hey, reality check, trans women, you're probably just going to look like a younger version of your mother. I'd even settle for that. I'm not even sure if I looked like that, even. But then again, I guess I just easily get down because there's a lot of people that still see me as a sir, a male, or just somebody that's kind of stuck somewhere in the middle. It kind of makes me think of that old, what was it, optical illusion, where it's just like on one hand you see like a beautiful woman and on the other you see an old woman. I feel like it's one of those things where I'm kind of at that stage where it's the power of suggestion. If I dress more on the feminine side, people see that, but if I dress more on the masculine side, that's what people see. But at the same time, there is some hope. I remember as I was waiting to go to the doctor's office, there was a person there, and I kind of thought I skipped ahead of them, but they're just like, no, 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 ma'am, you can go on ahead. And I'm just like, this is going to be a good day. I think that's all I've got for now. If there's anything else you'd like to talk about that's not related to politics, feel free to leave a comment down below. After all, I feel like I can talk about more down there as I don't have to worry about age restriction, rage restrictions, raised. I better just end this. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I guess I just had one of those actor moments where I'm just like, come on, get back into the character. Until next time, be yourself, no matter who that is.